guys, Chris here from Cannibal Reviews, and today I'll be reviewing 88 Films' new Burial Ground Blu-ray. For those of you who might be unfamiliar with this particular title, it's directed by Andrea Bianchi, who is sort of one of the lesser-known Italian directors out there, and a lot of people that are into the Italian horror stuff sort of regard him as being a bit of a hack, and it's understandable. The guy's got a few not so great films under his belt. For example, Night Child and Strip Nude for Your Killer. Burial Ground being probably his most well-known film, and it's kind of well-known for all the wrong reasons, for being sort of strange and having this sort of really kind of incestuous relationship, which we'll cover here shortly. The film is essentially about three couples, one of them having a child, who are staying in this really nice kind of secluded mansion. Meanwhile, in the area, this professor has unearthed a tomb of these walking flower pot, very Zombie 2-esque zombies who are bloodthirsty and now out to gut munch. Unfortunately, the couples are about to encounter a handful of these zombies, and from there it sort of becomes your typical kind of by-the-numbers survival horror. I mentioned that there was sort of this very strange incestuous relationship in this film. So one of the couples has a child who is played by the actor Peter Bark. And the child is supposed to be around the age of 7, 8, give or take, and the actor is clearly an adult. He's an adult. I'm guessing was probably maybe 20-something or around that age when he made this film. Unfortunately for this actor, who clearly has some sort of stunted growth issue, while he might be in his 20s, he's got just a super old face, and it's just such a weird thing when you see this actor who's clearly an adult playing a child. And then on top of that, if that wasn't weird enough, as I mentioned, you have that incestuous relationship angle. There's a part where his mom is trying to calm him down, and he's like kissing his mom, and all of a sudden he's like trying to get at her breast, and then on top of that, he's like putting his hand up her skirt, or trying to, and he wants her to feed him, and when she's like, no, I don't want none of that, he like dramatically, he runs away. And there's a point in the film when we're first sort of introduced to this character, and he's like laying in bed, and all of a sudden there's this kind of synthy music cue, and his eyes open. And at that point, you realize, wow, what the fuck am I about to, what am I getting into? Like, what the fuck am I about to watch here? This is fucking weird. To truly enjoy Burial Ground, you have to get on Burial Ground's level. Now, there's a few ways you can do that. Of course, alcohol is an obvious one. I actually have a Ouija board here, and I was gonna mess around with this, but I decided that might not be the best idea. So I've got the next best thing. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get on Burial Ground's level right now. I think we're there right now. Wow. Okay. So, Burial Ground. My God. This has to be one of the strangest entries into the Italian zombie subgenre. I would put it up there with, say, your Nightmare City, your Night of the Zombies. It's actually, to be honest, I would say the tone, as far as campiness is concerned, is on that level. But there's also such a strange factor in this film, and it starts with the incest, but it's such a, I don't even know, it's completely a guilty pleasure film. And as I mentioned, a lot of Italian horror film fans will regard this director as a hack. But with that said, while the film isn't the greatest, there's some, actually, in my opinion, good direction here in terms of how he captures the mansion, like some of the scenes in the tomb, and also there's this really cool shot in this movie that I absolutely love. And this is a film where the zombies do carry weapons. They're carrying like scythes and pickaxes and axes and shit like that. And there's this really cool scene where the zombies are getting ready to sort of attack the house, and they're gathering up their weapons, right? And they're kind of walking off the scene, basically. And they're kind of moving slow, and it's just really kind of creepy. It just has such a kind of a weird, thick, strange atmosphere. It really kind of keeps you watching. It keeps you watching. Like, there's no point in Burial Ground where I'm like, this movie sucks, cock, turn it off. I keep watching it. Right, reminds me of, like I said, Rats and Night of the Zombies and Nightmare City, where it doesn't always really make complete sense, and there's the campiness factor, and then the incest thing, but it's just completely enjoyable. It's just a fantastic guilty pleasure. It makes like the perfect double feature if you've got Zombie Holocaust. Like these two movies back to back, alcohol, and yeah, probably drugs, and it's perfect, right? It's perfect. I really enjoy this film. I enjoy it. And I also really like the score. The effects are great. The zombies are just fantastic. And as far as like the director's inspirations, you can tell, the zombies are inspired by Fulci's film, which makes sense because they actually have the same guy doing the effects that handled the effects in Zombie De Rossi. He's handling the effects in this movie, and you could tell these are like the sort of typical Italian walking flower plant zombies. And like one thing I hate about some of these modern zombie films is when they are trying to get like the look of maggots and they're using fucking mealworms. Like, fuck that shit. The Italians used actual maggots. These are actual maggots. They are throwing these zombies, these actors, these poor actors, having to have this crap caked on them. And then on top of that, oh, we're just gonna dump some maggots here by your eyes. Like, I love that about this movie. So that's just one of my favorite things. And like the zombies, a lot of them are wearing these sort of monk robes, and they just have such a cool look about them. I love the zombies in this film. And also, I mentioned the atmosphere of the movie, totally kind of Hammer, Universal Monsters, gothic vibe, thanks to sort of the locations, essentially. But I love that about this film. So, with that said, it's not the greatest Italian zombie film. Obviously, it's got its problems. But as far as like the enjoyability factor, like you will have fun with Burial Ground. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. It gets my seal of approval. It's just complete trash, but it's wonderful trash. It's the best trash out there. As far as the actual disc goes, if you previously owned Shriek Show's Blu-ray, throw it away because this is the release to own. I love Shriek Show. When I was sort of getting into collecting of DVDs and I really wanted to see a lot of gialli and Italian, exploitation films and sexploitation films, Shriek Show, they were the label to go to. I mean, they released Porno Holocaust, they released Zombie Holocaust, Burial Ground, their DVD Burial Ground, just tons and tons of wonderful Italian exploitation and horror films. They were a fantastic label. Unfortunately, as the years progressed and they made the jump to high def, their releases kind of began to dwindle down. In fact, I couldn't tell you the last thing they released, honestly. But they did re-release a few of their previous DVDs onto Blu-ray. Unfortunately, while a few of them were okay, were decent, a handful of them were actually upscales. And like, that's bullshit. If I'm going to actually pay good money for a Blu-ray, it better not fucking be an upscale. I want an actual remastered, high definition video. And that's just not something they were known for. In fact, their Burial Ground Blu-ray that they put out was easily one of the worst ones. One of the worst ones. Not only were like little pieces and parts of the film trimmed and missing, which was very strange, there was this like thick layer of artificial grain over the actual picture that made no sense. Like, I don't know why they did it. I don't know if it was a mistake. Obviously, quality control, they, at that point, couldn't afford it because it's not there. I am so very happy to report that this looks fantastic. Now, don't get me wrong. It's an old film. It has its flaws. But, I mean, as far as the way it, compared to, Shriek Show's release, for instance, it's just, comparing this to Shriek Show's release is like comparing this Blu-ray to a fucking VHS tape. Like, there's that big of a difference. So if you're on the fence about upgrading, I can tell you right now, go for it. It's well worth it. Honestly, have given Burial Ground a kind of a release that it doesn't deserve. You know, it really is kind of that Z-grade Italian horror film. It's probably one of the last ones you're going to check out. You know, if you're running through those Italian zombie films, obviously the Fulcis are going to be the first ones. And then as you get kind of further down the line, you encounter Burial Ground. So, I mean, they've just done a fantastic job, the way it looks and sounds. And it actually also has a second version of the film on here. So the main version is one that is restored from the 16mm negative, but they've also got a sort of beat up print that they'd found where it's not that great looking. The contrast is a bit too high. So if you are a fan of what we can call, I guess, the grindhouse aesthetic, then that's going to be the version that you'll watch. So on top of those two versions of the film, you also have an interview with Michael Coben, who's an author, and he doesn't only just talk about Burial Ground, he talks about Bianchi's career, essentially. So he goes into films like Night Child and Stripping for Your Killer. There's a few Italian crime films mentioned as well, so he talks about those films, and he does spend, you know, a good portion of time on Burial Ground. It's around 26 minutes, and very enjoyable featurette, very happy it's on here. You then get an audio commentary by John Martin, and there's also deleted scenes in here as well, which I believe were basically outtakes, and I want to say that those were also included on Shriek Show's release, so if you got that release, you're probably familiar with those deleted scenes. So all in all, this is just a fantastic release. I really can't imagine a company coming along and doing anything better with this particular film. The commentary, the outtakes, the featurette, and then of course the remastered film, and of course you have a grindhouse version as well. So I mean, they've just really, as I mentioned before, they've given Burial Ground a release it probably doesn't deserve, but it's well worth the upgrade. But wait, there's more. So this is the actual reverse cover. I just really like this particular artwork, and on this one the spine is the same on both sides. On the back you get some different images on this side. These are a little more explicit images. And here is the reverse. So we have the US artwork there, and there's the back side. And if that wasn't enough, I'll show the disc there, you also get a nice art card with the Italian artwork and a booklet. And the booklet has a write-up on the film, and then it has a little blurb about the restoration process. And if you flip it over, you've got the rest of the releases in their Italian collection. I wish I owned all of them, but I don't have a lot of money, unfortunately. But I do have Zombie Holocaust and I have Anthropophagus, but I really want to get my hands on the release of Zombie 3. I love it personally. I love sleazy, trashy, low-budget films, especially of the Italian persuasion. And this one, I think, is one of the most enjoyable ones. It's great. It's a lot of fun. And then Peter Bark, man. Peter Bark. So yeah, that about does it for this video. Holy shit, Skittles. Wow. These are actually under the Ouija board. I forgot that I had them. Holy shit, these are so fucking good. Wow. It's like licking an angel's asshole. Check that out. These are fucking awesome. So yeah, I forgot what I was saying. Shit. Yeah. Comment. Leave a comment. And thank you for watching. Have a great week. Cannibal Reviews out.